everybody. Welcome to another episode of Creation Science Theater. Today, we will possibly be finishing our presentation with Ryan Cox. We will have to see. However, I am not alone today. Today, I am joined by my guests. Dapper, would you like to say hello first?
Hello first.
Drip, would you like to say hello second?
Hello second.
And like that, introductions are complete.
Very efficient. Very efficient. I like it.
Yes. Let's see. Introduction, rising action. One of you has to conspire to kill the other. Main conflict, resolution. I don't know how to square all that, but we'll figure it out. This is story time with dinosaurs.
Fantastic.
Yay. Although someone here has a profile picture that's a pseudosuchian and not a dinosaur.
That's because they're better. Sorry.
Oh man. When was the last time a pseudosuchian learned how to fly, huh?
Okay, well. When was the last time a dinosaur learned how to swim?
Many times.
Yesterday? Yeah, dinosaurs swim all
okay,
over the
yeah,
place. What are you talking
fair.
about? Penguins are a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Cormorants are a thing. And hingas are a thing. Pelicans are a thing.
Okay, well, there's no fully aquatic dinosaurs.
I mean, I will say, if there's anyone who knows both sides of this debate, like which is better, a crocodilian or a bird, I think Drip might actually know because he recently switched sides.
Oh wow!
I've done a chunk of bird work, but my passion is the crocs.
Look,
I do love them.
I think pseudosuchians are a vastly underappreciated group of animals that had all sorts of really cool forms all throughout the history of the Earth. And I think it is, in fact, a shame that most people are unaware that they were around for just as long as dinosaurs, doing all sorts, actually longer than dinosaurs technically, but I guess if we're just going to go with, like, I don't know, like avian metatarsalia or something as our dinosaur stand-in, then about just as long. And we're all going around doing all sorts of cool stuff during the Mesozoic that people just don't know about.
Yeah, and the thing that I really think is awesome about them is how recent like the drop in diversity was with pseudosuchians, because they were doing like crazy terrestrial stuff up until less than 3,000 years ago. Like the last terrestrial crocodilian died after the pyramids were built, which is crazy. It was on an island off the coast of Australia called Vanuatu.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Mechasuchus kalpakasai. You will be missed. Anyway, speaking of dinosaurs.
Yes, anyway. Today we are here, of course, to continue our adventures with Ryan Cox. And I've been having a bit of a struggle deciding where exactly to start, because there was a lot of interesting stuff in the last stream. We went over how dinosaurs must be cold-blooded because they are reptiles.
Okay.
How
It doesn't even work in
Velociraptor-
reversed. Every mammal is entirely endothermic. No, it's not. Nope. They're mesothermic mammals. They exist. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, but rock hyraxes, they're a thing.
they are a thing. We also went over how Velociraptor could not be warm-blooded because it doesn't have the same nose as an ostrich.
What? What is
Okay.
that? That sure is a claim.
So
I don't have the same nose as an ostrich. You don't either, Doc. So are you also not warm-blooded because you don't have the nose of an ostrich?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well.
But he brought up this actually kind of interesting paper that we dug into. The paper went over how, like, the nasal passages of dinosaurs visibly changed as you get closer and closer to aviolans.
Wow.
Mm.
And how did you
Because-
dismiss that?
Because he just showed a velociraptor skull, a crocodile skull, and an ostrich skull.
Yes.
And said
So let's-
velociraptor closer to crocodile, therefore cold.
Right. So we're not going to compare with any other, say, like non-Maniraptorans. We're not going to compare with any other like non-Maniraptoran tetanurans or like neotheropods or none of that. We're just going to skip straight to Velociraptor, a bird, and a crocodile, huh?
And crocodiles
Yep.
are like the worst example for that because they're secondarily ectothermic.
Yeah, there is that too. Like, what? Hey, guys. Why do you think the crocodiles have 4 heart chambers, but they don't use all of them? Please explain that under the intelligent design hypothesis.
Why do they have to poke a little hole in one of them to send their blood around?
Right? Like, what are we doing here? Like, if modern crocodilians are not ancestrally warm-blooded, please explain the hearts. There is just no good explanation for it. Yeah, I could also argue that like the oddly efficient system of a hepatic lung, as opposed to like rib-based breathing, where you're just expanding the ribs, seems like a weird adaptation for an animal that only takes a breath every once in a while.
Yeah, they have to make sure that one breath is really, really good, though.
Like everything about a crocodile's like respiratory and circulatory system screams like, "Hey, maybe my ancestors were warm-blooded,"
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm the weird one.
Yeah, it's okay. Sure, the nasal passages is a bit funny, and we're going to ignore most of what the paper says. That sounds like a typical young Earth creationist argument.
Yeah, I mean, the paper goes on to compare a bunch of theropod nasal passages to no one's surprise, I'm sure.
Well, I would hope so. That's what I would want.
Yeah, it is actually a very, very interesting paper.
It sounds interesting.
And they say in the paper, hey, Velociraptor does not have this nasal-based cooling system for its brain that birds have, because it has a smaller brain than birds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But he just ignores that and says, small brain must not be bird-related. Must be cold-blooded.
Sure.
I wonder if he is aware of animals like the koala, which also have tiny, tiny brains, but are in fact warm-blooded.
Well, they are also smooth-brained, so do they?
Well, there's that too. But like, yeah, brain size does not correspond very tightly to like baseline metabolic rate, which is really what we're talking about with warm-blooded versus cold-blooded, right? If your metabolism is high enough, you can control your internal body temperature and keep it warmer than the surroundings if you need to, and then you can have adaptations to cool down. But that's basically what we're talking about. Is your baseline metabolic rate high enough that you can generate more heat internally from cellular respiration and various, like macroscopic digestive processes to keep yourself warmer than the surrounding area when it drops below your optimum body temperature? If the answer is yes, then we can put you in the somewhat old-fashioned category of warm-blooded. It's not that complicated. Are you an active enough animal that you keep your body temperature up? And very obviously, for many dinosaurs, the answer was yes, both based on like bone histology and just reconstructing what kinds of behaviors and lifestyle would be reasonable for an animal with this anatomy. Where it's like, obviously, a lot of these are active pursuit predators who have, like lithe limbs for fast running and everything. The kind of thing that would take a, cold-blooded modern crocodilian and exhaust them for like a week after doing for only a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I no longer have the paper. Sorry. I remember in the last stream, also got into like stable isotope analysis of teeth, because he was not happy that Brachiosaurus was shown to be warm-blooded when it emphatically was.
Oh no!
A friend of mine came on and shared a paper that did the same thing with dromaeosaurids. You'll never guess what modern group of animals their body temperature overlaps with.
Oh man, is it birds?
The Argentine black and white tigo.
It might be birds.
Good lizard, though.
Yeah, sometimes warm-blooded, depending on who you ask.
I think we can say that mesothermic might be a reasonable option.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you want to say mesothermic's a thing, it's
really complicated. Well, the thing is, like endothermy to exothermy is a gradient, right? Like there are situations in which, Doc, you couldn't maintain your internal body temperature, right? Like if I stuck you in -40 out in like Alaska or the Yukon or something, your body temperature would drop. You can't maintain yourself against that. And on the other hand, if I tossed you in like, Death Valley in the middle of the summer, your body temperature would rise. You're not going to sweat enough to keep yourself that cool. And like, but would it be more dramatic if you were like, I don't know, like an iguana? Yeah, it would be a lot more dramatic. But like, it is a spectrum, and we can't there aren't just two categories where there's a binary, like, oh, cold-blooded, warm-blooded for every animal. And so like, is mesothermic a thing? I don't know. It's just what we call things in the middle.
I mean, Dapper, if there's one thing we know about creationists is that they can't acknowledge a spectrum exists. It must be a binary.
It's true. They are like
every way.
allergic
Oh,
to
yeah.
spectrum problems. Everything's a binary. You're an atheist evolutionist or a Christian creationist. You're a man or a woman. You're cold-blooded or warm-blooded. You're a bird or a dinosaur.
Bird.
Yeah,
Oh,
there it is.
Yeah.
Or are you a lizard?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, here he is.
Yeah, I figured this would be a good starting point. So for anyone who was watching last time, we are a few minutes back. We're going to get into a timeline of bird evolution.
What are
And-
these broken-wristed nonsense monsters that I'm looking at here? Deinonychus Utah
Something
raptor
he
with a
stole
space
from, like,
between Utah and
2008.
raptor. Jeez. Velociraptor. Okay.
Something he stole from 2008, I think.
Yeah.
So just check it if that's the highest quality.
Why does that Utah raptor, 2 words, look like it has like a notch between its premaxilla and its maxilla, with like the premaxilla dipping down, like it's.
Oh, you're right. It kind of does.
What is going on here? Yeah. What? I already hate this a whole lot.
Well, you might start to hate it more. Oh yeah, and this is part of a section where he's talking about how the raptors in Jurassic Park have their hands folded like this, so that they look more like birds.
That's the opposite
To
of
trick
making them
people?
look more like birds. Birds don't do that. The actual hand position is closer to birds.
Or maybe he says they're like mammals. I forget, but it's like to invoke warm-bloodedness in a
How
cold-blooded
does it-
creature is his basic
How
point.
does it invoke warm-bloodedness that your wrists are pronated?
It's part of a whole screed he has on the raptors being warm-blooded.
Okay, maybe we have to hit play because maybe
Yeah.
he's explaining this and it's a thing that I can understand if he explains it, because right now, you describing, I'm like, that might be the craziest thing I've heard this week. And I've heard some pretty crazy shit this week.
Oh, we'll give it a whirl then.
Facing each other. Okay. But you see the wrists and their arms, that's supposed to be part of their evolutionary process, as shown by National Geographic and PBS back in 2001. They published this showing, look at the evolution of the arm into a wing as the bird evolves, or as the dinosaur evolves into a bird.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Look at that progression. Isn't that amazing? Here's what's
But they're
interesting
not
about this.
showing pronated wrists on this. They're showing the wrists
not
in
in
the
this
correct
diagram.
diagram.
Yeah.
So how is
Sorry,
that
this is-
part of the
this is-
effort?
Sorry, this is transitioning from him talking more about the hands being wrong into this.
So he knows they're wrong in Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, but when they're right, then there's less need for any kind of transition because they're already in the right position to turn into bird wings. Maybe he'll play. Maybe he'll explain it.
Let's hear him out.
A colleague of ours, Dr. Charles Jackson, he went and looked this up, and I've done it since then as well. These different creatures you see on here, Sinosauropteryx, Velociraptor, Caudipteryx, Archaeopteryx, so on, they have them in an interesting order. What are the evolutionary dates of each of these? Like, how old do evolution? So, like specifically from the Natural History Museum of London, you know, what are their dates they ascribe to each of these creatures? So you see the numbers on the side there. Let's now assign them to their respective creature, and zoom in here a little bit here. Oh, looky here.
Okay.
That doesn't seem to be in order, doesn't it? No, it doesn't look like that's the right order according to their ages.
Right,
So-
but that's not a timeline.
And how they're
axis.
trying to
is the argument here that Ryan Cox is too stupid to understand that that's not a time axis, and therefore, because Ryan Cox is a fucking idiot, birds didn't evolve from dinosaurs? Is that the argument?
That is the argument, yes.
Okay, cool. Good job, Ryan.
Oh,
In case
Lord.
anyone's wondering, what's actually happening here is that we're looking at what's a basic phylogenetic tree, and this is not a time axis. What's happening is each branch is telling you that this thing is more or less closely related to modern birds as you go from less related to more related to the right. And in addition to that, as you get more and more related, the morphology actually more and more approaches actual modern birds, with Eoalulaevis being something that you could not distinguish from a modern bird unless you were an expert.
Ooh, yeah. And what the kind of thing that does bug me about this a little bit is, like, there are representatives of these groups that if you slotted them in there, they would be in time order as well. So it's these divergences are happening in order of geological time. It's just that the species that are here they're being chosen to represent those paths are not in order, which is something that he's taking issue with. It just feels like a very bad faith interpretation of this, and I have a
I mean,
hard
I
time
will
believing
say,
know
like,
that.
in regards to that, this is from 2001, so this is
Oh, yeah.
25 years out of date. So
Is
a
it
lot
that
of
old? Jeez.
yeah, so a lot of those individual genera might not have been known about at the time.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And also, like, look at this Velociraptor. That is a 2000s Velociraptor.
Oh
right
yeah, it
there.
absolutely is.
That reminds me of Wayne Barlow's raptor. I love
Actually,
Wayne.
even
Although this
Sinosauropteryx doesn't have
Lagia
any.
is actually really nice.
That is a very
Even the Sinosauropteryx, it doesn't seem to have any like downy covering or anything like that. It should have some kind of like fuzz.
I
That's
think it
kinda
has like a
cursed.
peach fuzz, but it's hard to see on the stream.
Okay, maybe that's the case.
I've
But
never seen a fuzzless Sinosauropteryx before.
I've only seen them from creationist sources and Alan
Oh,
Fiducia.
because they think it's the collagen. Yeah.
Yeah.
despite the fact that when they said maybe this is collagen marks, fossil preparators came out of the woodworks, be like, nope, those are tool marks. I made them myself.
Yeah.
That on the not on the dinosaur, but on the what was it, the ichthyosaur that he was using for comparison?
Stenoturbius.
Yeah, it was like, see, look at these collagen fibers, and people are like, nope, those are tool marks. The ones on the dinosaurs, though, those are absolutely not collagen fibers because you have nothing to compare it with that would even indicate that.
That paper was like, not only did they refute the collagen fibers, they also found melanosomes in the Sinosauropteryx and were able to reconstruct its colors in one paper.
And yet creationists are like, no, maybe there's just collagen fibers that had Rufus melanocyte or melanosomes in them for some reason, even though that's not how collagen works. Just shut up. That's the color patterns of the collagen, Doc. I don't know what you're talking about.
What if the world was made of pudding?
Right, yeah.
Consider if the world was made of pudding, you'd be incorrect.
I mean, to be honest, that is what a lot of creationist arguments come down to. With like, they're like, what if the rate of nuclear decay was accelerated in the past? It's like, yeah, what if physics was just different in the past? I don't know. Maybe. Sure. Why not?
Sure, man.
Plus, I will say, good night, Mark Reed. Hope you sleep well. Mark is Australian, so he's dipping out early.
Oh, yeah. Wait, isn't it early? No, it's early in the morning here, so it's late at night there. I'm confused. I was on a stream with an Australian last night, and my sense of time has been shot in the last few months, so I have no idea what's happening anymore.
I've been emailing back and forth with an Australian researcher for like a week, and it feels like we're sending like letters to each other because I'll send him an email late at my night, and then he'll send me another one, and it reaches me like a day later. It's like, oh, greetings, sir. it's very funny.
I hope this letter finds you well.
Show the progression of the evolution of the wing as the dinosaur turns into a bird. There's the youngest, the baby, okay, modern day, present day. Yeah, we'd expect that to be at the end. Shouldn't the oldest one be down at the other end?
No, because
no,
this isn't
not
on
even
the
close
time
to
axis.
Yeah. He's going to go on about this for the next minute or so.
Jesus.
What this means here, Ryan, is that the common ancestor of the bird and the Sinosauropteryx would be the oldest, followed by the common ancestor of the Velociraptor and the modern bird, and so on. It's the nodes that would be having the oldest to youngest dates, which is actually what a phylogeny does imply, that if you are only tracing one lineage in each branch that goes off basally to it, then yes, the ancestors would be in time order. But the terminal branches that you're using to construct this don't have to be in any particular temporal order.
Yeah.
Instead, here's the baby's mama, which should be right up next to baby, shouldn't it? If we're going back to mama and then grandmama and then great grandmother and great great grandmother. And so, but no, Mama's all the way back there. Here's Grandma. There she is at 94 million years old. And there's great grandma there at the Protearchaeopteryx, 122 million years old. And there's great great grandma at 125. And the oldest one, great 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 grandma, is where Grandma should have been. How does this even happen? I don't know, but
Ryan,
this is the best
when
they've
you
got.
confuse taxa used to construct a phylogeny with the reconstructed positions of their most recent common ancestors. That's what happens. It's what happens when you fundamentally have no clue what you're looking at and you have an axe to grind against science broadly. That's how this happens.
Reminder that this man supposedly has some formal education in paleontology.
I mean, great. I have some formal education in astronomy. You probably shouldn't trust me to classify your stars from your spectrograms that you're getting out of your telescope.
Yeah.
Some guy who took like a class in geology and paleontology one year as an elective, that doesn't terribly impress me. And if it's more than that, well, then that just means he knows better and he's lying. So I don't know, Ryan,
Yeah.
Are you an idiot or are you a liar? Let me know.
Oh,
you
this
ever watch
is his
this.
livelihood. So who knows?
And it's like, why are they so ingrained on this? Why is it, if you even dare question this whole bird dinosaur connection, that you can be ostracized, you can be kicked out of your program, they can keep your papers from being published, which this has happened to secular evolutionary scientists who have
Hey,
dared
do the
question
bandits get published or do they not get published? Because last I heard they got published when they can pass peer review, and some of their peer review publications have been arguing against the dinosaur bird connection, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Alan Fiducia, I think, put out quite a bit of stuff after the link was relatively well established, and he also wrote like 3 books about it that are extraordinarily commercially successful.
Yeah.
So I would say I would consider his movement far from silenced.
And Alan Fiducia, was he drummed out of his position as a teaching professor, or did he continue on doing that?
That's actually a good question. He's definitely. I think he's still employed.
I mean, I think he's mostly retired by now. But like, I have never heard a single claim that he was kicked out of that position. So the thing is, look, you can publish papers arguing for counter consensus positions. In fact, I would argue that those are the most important papers, are the papers that say, hey, maybe the consensus is wrong. But there's a couple problems. One is you have to actually have, like valid evidence to back you up if you want your ideas to be taken seriously. And at a certain point, when you are continuing to repeat arguments that have already been refuted and that no one is buying, yeah, you're going to get some pushback from that, right? There's a reason that we don't have a lot of flat earthers publishing papers in like geology journals, right? It's because they can't, because they're too wrong about, well, more or less everything. And so nothing they could possibly output is going to pass peer review because it's going to be obviously wrong from pretty much the abstract on. And so the complaining that, oh, people who have a crazy idea can't get published, that's not a problem with the peer review process. That's a problem with that idea. Sorry, but some ideas aren't worth publishing because they're too stupid. It turns out, however, that disagreeing with the dinosaur to bird thing is actually not in that category at this point. Papers like that do get published.
Yeah, Alan Fiducia published a paper disputing the bird-dinosaur relation 3 years ago in the Journal of Diversity, which seems to be pretty decent. I mean, it's mostly just a descriptive morphological paper. But in the paper, he's like, yeah, we should probably rethink the bird-dinosaur relation. Alan Fiducia, keep in mind, not a paleontologist. He's an ornithologist. Mm-hmm. And a lot of his arguments come from that position. But you know, he is still publishing this kind of thing.
So Ryan, did you not check? Or no, of course not. It's just like when I was talking to a flat earther and he said, why have there never been a north to south circumnavigation? So I just typed into Google north south circumnavigation and like 15 results popped up of different north to south circumnavigations of the globe. It's like, so you just didn't check. You just made this claim, huh? You just made it up and said it as if it was a fact. Cool. That's great.
And like the thing is, if like we have examples of people like publishing challenging paradigms in paleontology.
Yeah.
Like they get published all the time. Sometimes they make a big splash, sometimes they don't. Take for example, I don't know the name of the paper, but I'm gonna say this, and Drip is gonna have nightmare flashbacks. Cow 2024.
Oh Jesus! Is that the Microraptor one?
That's the Compsognathus one,
Oh yeah.
or Compsognathid one. It basically in 2024, there's this author named Cow CAU, who led a study alleging that all Compsognathids, including Sinosauropteryx down here, are just juvenile versions of other dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pay no
that
attention to the
with
fused skull
resounding
bones.
silence or a resounding no
Yeah.
from just about every paleontologist out there.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's an interesting hypothesis, and sure, I'm glad that someone looked into it. But like, no. But that is another great example of an extremely counter-consensus paper getting published.
But then you compare it to something like Napoli 2025, which showed that Nanotyrannus is its own thing, actually, and we've been wrong about T-Rex ontogeny for 20 years.
Yep. And that was also, counter the consensus. And you know what happened to the consensus? It largely shifted because the argument was very compelling.
It was very compelling.
Come up with an ontogenic reason for T-Rex hands to shrink as the animal ages. Good luck.
Right. There was a lot. And then apparently the Nanotyrannus curse was lifted and we actually found a baby T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of them.
And apparently they're tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny little babies. So we still need a kid T-Rex, but at least we have babies now.
Just wait. I'm sure the babies will grow up at some point.
Yeah, if you just leave them in the cabinet long enough.
Yeah.
Yes. Why
is it? It's because you
something
just made it
I've
up, Ryan. That's why.
noticed everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I travel the country all year long, lots of youth programs, and I'll ask them, what's your favorite dinosaur? Name a dinosaur. Name any dinosaur. 99% of the time, a young person will yell out, chicken. Chicken.
Okay.
It's not a crow, not a car.
The only way I will believe him is if what he means is that at a large majority, and not actually 99.9 whatever % of the time, someone among the crowd of children yells out chicken. Because I absolutely do not believe that he is going to present these dinosaur presentations to rooms full of church youth groups and saying, what's your favorite dinosaur? And more than 1 in 1,000 of those kids says chicken. I don't believe that that's the case, but that is what he said. I will maybe grant that in most of the cases, probably more like 70% of the youth group rooms or whatever he's going to talk to, someone says some kind of modern bird, which may or may not be a chicken. But like, yeah, you should be more careful with your words, Ryan Cox, alleged science communicator.
Yeah. That
science miscommunicator.
Like,
yeah.
1 or 2 people in a large group I can believe, but I've gotten so many responses to that question.
I mean, I still think the most common one is probably going to be Tyrannosaurus Rex, followed by Triceratops, and then maybe Stegosaurus afterwards. Those are like the holy trinity of kids who like dinosaurs.
Unless you go outside the US, then Brontosaurus really soars in popularity.
Okay.
Or
although
Diplodocus.
I'm assuming he's traveling primarily in the US.
True. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people have a lot of favorite dinosaurs.
Not a hummingbird, not an ostrich or an emu, not a penguin, not an eagle or a hawk or an owl or a raven. It's always chicken without exception. I've been doing this.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Because when I'm asked, I say Meleagris gallopavo, which is in fact the turkey in the North American turkey. So like, I don't believe you that everyone says chicken.
Yeah, I can believe that a lot of people say chicken. but
Yeah,
not
I mean, chickens are cool.
8 years, 8.5 years, 100% of the time. I've never had an alternative. It's always chicken.
This isn't an argument, dude.
When I had my family at Legoland in Kissimmee, Florida, we were going into the farm section. You're going to ride on a tractor that looks like it's made out of Legos. And right there is the thing about chicken. And the first thing it says is the chicken is related to T-Rex. Just like that.
I hate that they split capital T dash capital R.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
the worst
not
way to spell
italicized.
T-Rex.
Don't challenge people. People will come up with worse ways. I promise.
But
Actually,
also,
I might argue that T, capital T, small r, small e, small x might be worse because that's just Trex.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
isn't that a kind of motorcycle?
Probably.
Maybe.
I got into this in the last stream, but like, why do we say a chicken is related to a T-Rex? Like, why
It's a
do we
meme.
say that?
It's a cool meme.
It is a meme, but it immediately gets people's attention. It immediately juxtaposes something common, a chicken, something cool, a T-Rex, and introduces something absurd that they might be related to one another because they're so different in everyone's mind. It catches your attention and gets you to listen for the next thing someone says. Like that's why a lot of people always say chicken and T-Rex. It's absurd at first listen, and then it keeps your attention because you're curious, how are these things related?
Although it does spread that idea that people get, which is that like chickens are somehow more closely related to T-Rex than other birds are, which is not true.
Yeah.
All birds are equally
that's
closely
BS.
related to T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, also, interesting. Favorite extinct dinosaur here. Didactic
Ooh.
Dreams' favorite extinct dinosaur is Lokiceratops.
Oh.
That
That's
is
a
a
good
nice pick. I like Lokiceratops. It's also not a typical pick. So the hipster part of me, which is not particularly large, but does exist, approves of your you probably haven't heard of it pick for favorite dinosaur.
I mean, it did get a lot of press a couple of years ago. It's a very weird ceratopsian.
Okay, but Doc, a lot of press for us is very different from a lot of press for like the general public.
It's true. It's good to keep in mind.
Oh, and DM Wing asks, what about Triceratops latifrons?
What about Triceratops horridus?
I've had the pleasure of working with some very nice Pleistocene Triceratops latifrons recently.
I think my best guess is chicken is the easiest to teach, to get them to remember, to understand, because this is not about the science.
I mean,
This is about worldview. And this is about making disciples of your worldview, converting them to that world.
The degree to which it's about worldview is the degree to which people value a worldview which is scientifically informed, right? So it's not like it's not true that this is about worldview, but the worldview that most people adopt is that what we learn from science is at least approximately true, right? Most people are scientific realists, which is a whole philosophy of science thing, right? You can be a non-scientific realist or a non-realist, I suppose. Scientific non-realist, that's the way to go. Which means that you think that the things we learn from science are useful models and calculation aids and can produce some predictions, but fundamentally they don't necessarily have any relation to truth. And you can have that position, but very few people do, because one of the things about science is like, if it weren't true that this hypothesis is in some way actually reflective of reality, then why would it work to predict future data? Or why would we be able to disconfirm alternatives while leaving that one standing in terms of experiments, right? And so most people become scientific realists. So when you say, hey, according to science, there is a force of gravity caused by the warping of space-time or whatever, most people will say that, okay, well, now if I comprehend what that means, and you can comprehend that if you try hard, it's not super crazy, then you believe that there is actually some kind of curvature to space-time that exists in a way that you can't directly perceive, but that has measurable effects, right? Or if science says that, hey, wolves and tigers share a common ancestor, you can actually picture a real existing population that was in the past and that diverged into different groups of carnivorans, one of which became tigers and one of which became wolves. And so all that's happening is that Lego has on its staff people who are scientific realists. That's it. That's the whole worldview. I feel like that's a pretty normal worldview. In fact, I would argue that it's even Ryan Cox's worldview, because I would say that he thinks that the things that are real science, the parts of science that he's okay with, actually are reflective of reality. Like, I bet he believes in forces and motion and like light as an actual stream of photons that have their position determined by wave functions. Like, my guess is that he probably thinks those things are more or less true. And what he's actually arguing is that the science is wrong, but that scientific realism is probably still true. Because if scientific realism isn't something he believes in, then rather than arguing against the science, which is basically what he's doing, he would just argue that regardless of what the science says, in actuality, there is no real relationship. And this is all just some kind of game that we play with genetics and morphology. And it doesn't actually mean that it's true in the real world. So, yeah, no, sorry, Ryan, but this is not a battle of the worldviews because you share this worldview. You're just rejecting most of the conclusions of science.
And trying to stay stuck back in the 1800s before any of this was a thing.
Mm-hmm. Ryan seems to be stuck in, like, actually, I was going to say like the 1870s or something, but no, by the 1870s, we knew the Earth was far older than Ryan thinks it is. So, like, I don't know, like the 1750s or something?
Might be closer, yeah. I don't know. Do you think he'd get along with Richard Owen?
No, no one got along with Richard Owen.
True.
But also, Richard Owen was an old Earth guy. He didn't think 4.5 billion years, but no one thought 4.5 billion years. But he thought the Earth was millions of years old.
I think he may have come around to it towards the end of his life, but he was pretty fervently, at least, anti-evolution.
He was.
Yeah.
He was a progressive creationist who thought that the fossil assemblages of the past represented separate instances of creation where God had sort of like done like server patches on life on Earth. Like the Cambrian was like Earth 1.0, and then God was like, I don't know, I think I want
the tier zoo belief system.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, although Tirzu is not an anti-evolutionist as far as
I know. It's just, yeah.
Chicken is very easy to remember. So every time they see chicken, which they see chicken all the time, they have chicken strips, chicken nuggets, chicken sandwiches. They have chicken all the time. And always like, oh, yeah, I'm eating a T-Rex. I'm eating a dinosaur. Chicken. It's always chicken.
Well, you're definitely eating a dinosaur. You're not eating a T-Rex, but okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Dino
you're
nuggies.
Eating a very distant relative of T-Rex.
All nuggies are dino nuggies.
True. Unless you're having alligator nuggies.
Which I did have last time I was in Louisiana.
I've heard they're good with hot sauce.
I had them in a po' boy. It was quite good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would try that.
Okay. We're talking about evolution. Day 3 of creation, on the third day ever of history, God brings out the dry land out of the water, and out of the dry land, he has vegetation grow.
I'd like to point out
on
that
some of the vegetation,
even if we take the Bible literally, the third day of creation would still be prehistory because there was no one around to write it down, and that writing had to come later. And history starts when people start writing about contemporaneous events, because that's what history is. It's people writing about the events. And yeah, that's still prehistory.
Well,
even if someone wrote something
Dapper,
down about it later. Sorry, go ahead.
Dapper, God wrote it down and he put it in the Bible.
But he still wrote it down afterwards. So it's still prehistoric. Only by a tiny little bit, but like it is. That's what history is. It is a study of the events, continuities, and changes of the past in human societies as seen through the lens of contemporaneous writings. That's what history is. I have a degree in it.
I'll take that. I'll take the appeal to authority.
Fine.
In this case, it's justified.
was fruit, and in the fruit was seed, each according to its kind on that day. And so let's talk about what that means. If we were to take corn seed and we were supposed to plant it, and what are we supposed to get after so many months? We're supposed to get corn, right? Can we get varieties of corn, different tasting corn, a little different looking corn? Yeah, but it's all still corn.
Right.
If I plant that corn and I wait,
And corn is still teosinte, which is still a grass.
Yep. Which is still a monocot.
Which is still a eukaryote.
Yep. Although we just skipped a whole bunch of steps.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be here for 10 minutes.
Listen, plant phylogeny is a nightmare.
Yeah.
billions and millions and millions of years,
There is no such thing as a tree.
No, tree
eventually,
is a thing, but it's a member of a plant group that fills a particular niche. It's not a phylogenetic term, but it's a niche.
Okay, yes.
It's like macro predator.
Yeah.
corn.
Would it be a macro producer?
Sure, why not?
That's probably a good way to put it, actually. Yeah.
Will turn into bananas.
No.
The same kind of fruit, right? It's
No.
long and yellow.
My God. For one thing, bananas are about as far away as you can get from grass while still being plants. And nothing about evolution says that any one lineage is going to jump ship and join a separate lineage that's already existing. Evolution proceeds by branching within the lineage, right?
Mhm.
It really is like a tree. Trees split off, right? Branches split. And when they split, they don't go join some other branch on the other side of the tree. They just stay attached where they were before. But new sub-branches can split off from that. And that's what happens. You always split within it. So what you can get from corn is newer and newer varieties of corn. And the different corn can become so dissimilar that they stop presenting themselves to your mind as part of the same plant. And they start becoming separate things. Kind of like no one really in their brain mixes up like broccoli and cauliflower and kale, even though they're all the same species, because they become morphologically independent in very significant ways. And so you don't look at broccoli and you're like, oh man, why am I eating so much like leafy green? Like, you're not. You're eating the terminal buds of the, like, I'm gonna crash out. I gotta stop.
We keep getting dragged into plants, and it does not go to good places.
Well, plants are one of those things where, like, we have absurd amounts of morphological diversity in some domesticated plants. And like, if you took someone and you showed them like a cauliflower plant and a broccoli plant and like all these different like brassica varieties, right? No one would normally say, oh, no, these are all the same species. In fact, I would argue that some people might even suggest that they were in like different families or something, because they look radically different. And that's the thing, but they still trace back to a single ancestor. And if we continue to breed them into the future and they stop being able to reproduce together and they start to diverge genetically, which they already are diverged genetically, otherwise they wouldn't have morphological differences, but they start to diverge even more such that they are as dissimilar as, say, like an apple tree is from a peach tree, which could happen over time as if we stop mixing their genes together, or well, their genetics together, then yeah, there'll be different species and there'll be different lineages and they'll continue to diverge from each other and they'll never cross back over.
But they'll always belong to their parent category.
Right. They'll still be corn. And so you say Ryan has formal training in this, which means he understands this. So Ryan is just lying to us about either having the formal training or this idea of evolution being that you should be able to jump ship from one lineage to a separate lineage.
Yeah. Neither of which is good. I'm not sure which is better.
I think being stupid is better.
That's fair.
Because stupid is not a moral failing. It is simply
It's not malicious.
Yeah. Like, I'm stupid about many things. And I don't consider that to be a moral failing. Like, if you ask me, like, hey, what about that play in the World Cup? I'll be like, no clue.
Computers are magic powered by lightning.
Yeah. Well, it's powered by the smoke that's inside, because once the smoke comes out, then the electronics stop working.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's very correct. That makes a lot of sense.
Because I have training as an electrician in the Navy, so I know about the smoke.
Yeah. You've got the smoke insight. That's what they don't teach you.
Well, it's classified. I actually shouldn't have told you this, and now I'm going to have to kill you and everyone watching.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Have you read the book? If I told you, I would have to. You would have to be destroyed by me.
I don't know. I don't think I have.
Never heard of that.
I'll tell you about it later. It's completely irrelevant, but you said that and it reminded me. It's a great
Okay.
title.
Okay. But I will say, if you want to see varieties of plants that are really closely related but are completely different, tomatoes, potatoes, and nightshade.
And don't forget
Oh, yeah.
grapes.
And grapes.
Yeah.
I did not know about grapes, but I knew about those other three.
Yeah, great. Turns out the grapes have an enormous genome for the same reason that tomatoes and potatoes do. They share a common ancestor with that whole group that went through a genome triplication, resulting in just absolutely enormous genomes.
Plants are absurd. They throw all the rules of animal biology out the water.
Just sitting there one day like, what if I had 3 times as many chromosomes for funsies? What would happen? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I get one mutation and I turn blue.
Yeah.
When you don't really have to worry about moving anywhere, the rules of evolution kind of let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah.
Unless the soil is a little bit too basic, then you die.
And then you explode. Yeah.
Burn the banana, right? And they're all like, no, that's really, if we wait long enough, it'll happen, right? No. Okay.
No, Ryan.
How about apple seed?
No.
We plant some apple seed. We're supposed to grow apples. Yeah, we all remember Johnny Appleseed. Okay. Can we get different colors of apples? Yes. Different tastes, flavors? Absolutely. But they're all still apples.
Yes.
So he knows that this is a straw man because he knows that no one who is on the other side of this argument accepts that this is what they think should happen. They all think he's wrong about this. So we can't just give him the like, oh, well, maybe he's just dumb on this particular one because he knows it's a straw man. He might not understand what the argument from evolution is, and that's fine, but he knows it's not this.
Mm.
And yet he's telling people that's what we think anyway.
And also telling him
And that we don't think.
and telling that we don't think that, which is interesting. So what is his mental map of evolution, right? Like, apparently it's internally contradictory.
Huh, never seen that with creationism before.
Evolution says we plant apple seed and we wait millions and millions and millions of years. Eventually, we might get pineapples.
Nope.
Why not? It's got
Doesn't
the
say
same
that.
name, right? But that is,
I mean,
is
in
pretty-
English, and in pretty much every other language, it's anana or ananas.
So really, the pineapples should become bananas because it's only one letter away.
Oh, and they're both yellow inside at least.
Mm.
Yep, they are both yellow outside too.
Yeah.
much evolution says all plant life came from green algae. Green algae eventually turned into ferns, oak trees, petunias, corn, strawberries, but everything. They're like, no, that's it. Okay, here's
That's true. Basically. So Viridiplantae is the group that contains all the plants and a bunch of the green algae. It's not all green algae because it's just the ones that are actually like eukaryotic cells with like the cell walls and whatnot. There are bacteria that are green algae in the sense that they have chlorophyll, but because obviously where do chloroplasts come from? So if you say green algae, if you say green algae to mean like Viridiplantae and like the groups that are mostly aquatic, then yes, plants do nest within that group. So as long as we're careful about what we mean by green algae, then that is basically true.
Okay. I'm just cautious about that because one, I don't know plants. And two, he tends to mash up terms a lot.
Yeah.
And equivocate a lot.
So one of the things is green algae is not like a formally defined like clade as far as I know, but Viridiplantae is, and it includes a bunch of green algae groups as well as plants. And they nest within, they're closer to some green algae groups than others. And I don't remember which ones are which. But that is basically true, that plants are green algae, which also it's important to say are green algae, not just descended from, right? They are parts of Viridiplantae, which is a actual clade. And so just like birds are dinosaurs, they're not just descended from them, because in evolution, those are the same things, right? If you're descended from a thing, you are that thing. Fundamentally, at least in a cladistic sense.
If you place the yellow cup inside a red cup, it is still within the red cup.
Yeah.
what evolution says. A cold-blooded, scaly-covered dinosaur reptile, after millions and millions of years, finally laid an egg.
Yeah, no. And I guess just to clear it up for anyone who might be confused in the audience, because we do say chickens is related to a T-Rex a lot, small bird-like dinosaurs have always existed for as long as there have been dinosaurs. It's just one specific group of those small bird-like dinosaurs got really big and became a T-Rex, and another group of small bird-like dinosaurs became birds.
I would argue that
Oh yeah, I was going to say the earliest dinosaurs were
Yeah.
small, feathered, and bird-like, and warm.
I was exactly going to say I would argue that the first ever dinosaurs were in fact small and bird-like.
Yeah.
And that is the basal condition for dinosaurs.
It's the default.
T-Rex, Triceratops, and sauropods are the weird ones. They got big and got weird.
They sure did.
I mean, birds got weird in different ways, but they stayed the same size at least.
Well, within a range, there's some big birds.
But the big birds are weird.
That's true. They are weird.
That hatched out a warm-blooded, feather-covered chicken.
No, man, no one is a saltationist.
And they're all like,
no.
No one thinks that a scaly, cold-blooded dinosaur, which, by the way, dinosaurs probably, I mean, there may have been some cold-blooded dinosaurs, right? But ancestrally, dinosaurs were probably warm-blooded to some degree. And they were probably fuzzy to some degree ancestrally because of how widely dispersed our evidence for like filaments on the skin are, where we have them from like all over the dinosaur tree, right? So chances, and we also have them in like pterosaurs, right? So it seems like even before dinosaurs, some kind of filament like structure evolved. So dinosaurs were probably never scaly ancestrally. There probably were some that became scalier as they went on. And also, no one ever actually expects an animal to give birth or to lay an egg that will hatch into a radically different animal in terms of morphology, which is also not what was shown in the actual diagram that he complained about. Because he knows that that's basically the hypothesis that's being described here. And at no point does it say, oh, well, we went from like, Euparkeria to a bird in one generation. And I know he doesn't think that that's actually what evolution is claiming. So he's just lying to us. If you can think of a way where he's not lying, I would love to hear it, because I don't know how else to conclude this.
I don't understand what the point of dropping the argument to this level is after he's tried to like justify it through morphology. Because you're already like, look at all these supposedly bird-like animals. Yeah, look at all these supposedly bird-like animals that are different from modern birds in X and Y ways, and he's still wrong about that in a lot of cases. But like, what's even the point of that if it's all just to lead up to this argument of like, yeah, but a T-Rex very clearly didn't give birth to a bird.
Right.
Like, just cut to that, and then we know that if that's your final argument, then why are you doing it?
Also, one thing I like to point
when creationists can't argue against an idea, they just take it to absolute absurdity and argue against that. They always have to go to a straw man when it gets too difficult.
Yeah,
because they can't own up to it.
I just lost my. Oh, right. Okay, that was my right train of thought. So one thing that you'll notice is anytime that you'd see a creationist arguing that birds aren't dinosaurs, I want you to think: can I make the same argument for why bats or whales are not mammals, right? And the answer is pretty much going to be yes. So, for instance, you could say, well, birds are active flyers and dinosaurs are not. Like, well, okay, well, bats are active flyers and mammals, if you exclude the bats, aren't. So I guess bats aren't mammals. And you can say, oh, well, birds have this particular feature of their skull. And it's like, all right, well, whales also have particular features of their skulls that other mammals lack. So does that make whales not mammals? Because what they always end up doing is they will take things that are unique to birds, or that they imagine are unique to birds that aren't always, and then say, because other dinosaurs lack this feature, therefore it's not a bird. But when you're looking at a morphological definition for how you put something into Dinosauria, you want to see, does this animal have the traits that we say are like synapomorphies of Dinosauria? And if yes, then we can say that we're going to assign it to Dinosauria, even though it has other traits that are not part of the suite of characteristics that are characteristic of dinosaurs. So And the same thing you can do with any animal, right? Like say, humans aren't mammals because mammals don't have fully enclosed eye sockets, but humans do. And you can just ignore the fact that that's actually just the case for all primates. But I didn't tell you that. So sure, it's an argument why humans aren't mammals. And that's what they consistently do. In fact, Will Duffy did it in his most recent talk with Erica, where he was like, I think birds aren't dinosaurs because birds have beaks and wings and they can fly. It's like that. Not only do many dinosaurs that aren't birds have beaks, and some of them
that means pterosaurs are birds.
Yeah, like what? Well, all
right. I'm somewhat tempted to try and have a talk with Will Duffy, but it doesn't seem like it'll go anywhere.
I mean, you can watch my talk with him. It didn't.
Yeah, our talk with him. Yeah,
I saw your stream, and I was like, I don't know if I have the time or energy to do that.
I don't know how Erica does. Jeez.
Yeah, well,
because Erica is a saint.
Yeah, basically.
And just for the sake of, I don't know, curiosity, do you think there is a group of dinosaurs that is more likely to be ectothermic? Maybe ankylosaurs?
That's a really good question.
I don't know. Like honestly, if I had to guess before knowing that we had evidence to the contrary, I would say that it might be the case that sauropods didn't actively control their body temperature and just relied on gigantothermy, which is not quite the same thing. But I don't know. The thing is, I think it's most likely that archosaurs are ancestrally warm-blooded as a group. And I can't think of any dinosaurs that I think probably led such a sedentary existence that I think that actual cold-bloodedness like a crocodile or a lizard is likely. So yeah, I doubt that there are any. Maybe.
I will say, I've read quite a few like dinosaur body temperature studies because it's very interesting to me. Almost all groups consistently are within like the 30 to 45 degrees Celsius range.
Wait,
with the
45?
exception of some 40s, like mid low 40s. With Brachiosaurus is like 100, 101 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's crazy.
Body temperature. But there are some theropods that go below 30.
And maybe.
Well, they aren't at least in the studies I've read, they aren't given an exact like taxa, like they don't say what they think they are. They are in areas with like abelisaurs.
I
mean, abelisaurs could have been more mesothermic.
Of course, the other thing is having a low body temperature doesn't mean that you're not maintaining it. So it's a proxy for the degree of endothermy or exothermy.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about pseudoseuchians that are secondarily ectothermic, usually it happens in either the big armored herbivorous guys that don't really have to worry about running anywhere, like the Aedosaurs and the Notoseuchians, or the ambush predators, whether they're terrestrial or aquatic. So I think, has there ever been a metabolism study on Spinosaurs?
I'm not aware of one.
I'm actually, now I'm thinking about that, because if there's any dinosaur that's going to spend a lot of time, assuming we're going with like the heron model, if there's any dinosaur that's going to spend a lot of time just sitting in one spot waiting that needs to conserve energy, that also has some adaptations that could potentially be used for thermoregulation. Sail probably wasn't for thermoregulation, but I think that's worth looking at to see how Spinosaurs sit in there, to see what their metabolism is like. Because if they're ambush predators, that's a really good reason to lower your metabolism, because it's almost a complete advantage, with the downside that you can't really recover from injury as quickly. But ambush predators have a very good reason to be cold-blooded.
We do have... So here's the thing. There have been isotope studies for Spinosaurids, but mostly looking at how aquatic they are. Because I know if you're an aquatic animal, it can mess with things a bit, because you're spending so much time in the water. I know there are ways to work around that, but I would have to dive deep into that to provide a solid answer. But there are oxygen isotope studies on spinosaurids.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's good to think about.
I just personally, I think if any group did become ectothermic broadly, I'd probably believe ankylosaurs.
Yeah,
They're the turtles of the
The
dinosaurs.
armor, yeah, could mean that. Although ankylosaurines themselves with the club tails seems like they were pretty active in defense. So I don't know, maybe nodosaurines were more endothermic.
I mean, fair. Counterpoint, iguanas' main defenses is with their tails.
yeah,
That's true, and that can hurt.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes.
You do not want to be on the
Iguanas
bad
mess you
end of
up.
an iguana tail whip,
Yeah.
which is why I don't think they're good pets. By the way,
Hmm.
don't. Okay, I'm not
I've
gonna say
heard they
don't
can
get
also
an
just be
iguana.
really temperamental.
They are, right? Iguanas tend to only bond with like at most 1 or 2 people, and they can be very dangerous to anyone that they don't like. And they're big. People get little tiny baby iguanas. I'm not saying don't get an iguana. If you get an iguana, you need to know what the hell you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Back in high school, my high school science teacher had an iguana in her classroom named Rex.
Yeah. That's
He
like a
was a
classic.
sweetheart, though.
Yeah.
Well, he was probably very well socialized by having been around kids all the time.
Yeah.
That's true.
Very few iguanas are ever going to be that well socialized if you go and buy an iguana.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially
he
you
was
don't get
getting- By the time I was in school, he was getting very old and he was very lazy.
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, no, that's ridiculous. The simple understanding from a child. They understand this is ridiculous, but yet they hear it all the time.
No.
This is about work.
That's
No.
not the same thing that they're hearing. See that sign that says the chicken is related to T-Rex, and how it doesn't say that chickens were hatched by T-Rexes? That's because there's a difference between those two things, Ryan.
Mhm.
Right? It's like saying, hey, me and my third cousin are related. That doesn't mean we had the same mom. In fact, it can't mean that.
But you're saying that you and your cousin had the same mom.
No, I'm not. That would be impossible. That would make that person my sibling. Maybe half sibling, but sibling nonetheless.
I don't know.
I
Seems
don't
like
buy
you're
it.
trying to replace God.
Worldview and our understanding of who made everything. Where did everything come from? Did it come from our creator God, or by some cosmic accident where nothing turned itself into everything?
Hey, here's a fun fact.
which
You
one
can
takes more
believe in a
faith.
creator
Science.
God and also not reject science.
Like the majority of Christians.
So the majority of Christians at least belong to Christian groups that allow for that, or that is their official position. I actually don't know that I can then say, therefore, it's the majority of Christians who do believe that, because like I can't count every Catholic as, say, someone who isn't rejecting science, because I happen to know that some of them do. So I don't actually have the evidence to say it's the majority of Christians. I used to say it's the majority of Christians, but now I will be more careful and say that the majority of Christians belong to churches or denominations where you are free to accept evolution. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty difficult to just gauge by like talking to people, especially because the local atmosphere is very different place to place when it comes to religious groups as well. So I'm cautious about like using my own personal
Pardon me.
experience.
I will be
for-
right back.
No, you're good.
we've been abandoned.
Ah! Yeah, I mean, I've lived in like a few places that are pretty have a lot of very, very religious people, and the atmosphere regarding evolution is just very, very different from one place to another. Even though the people are like have the same level of like devout belief, which is very interesting.
And I mean, like, I've responded to a number of instances of like Roman Catholics being like, "Rah, evolution bad. We shouldn't accept evolution." And so like and yet the Roman Catholic Church is like, no, evolution is fine if you want to believe that. And most of the Catholics I've met have not been, creationists in the sense of anti-evolution or anti-Big Bang. But like, it's odd. And yeah, you can believe in both. A lot of Christians do. A lot of Christians are, famous biologists or paleontologists. Dr. Mary Schweitzer, as far as I know, still an evangelical Christian.
Yep.
Not a young earther, not an anti-evolutionist. She was, though. She was both of those things, and then she started working on science and getting a paleontology education. So,
I mean, there's also one of the leaders of the dinosaur revolution, Bacher.
Yep,
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
preacher.
Yeah.
He gets up on Sundays and preaches the good word, and is also, in fact, an evolution. Well, a paleontologist who accepts evolution, as is the case for essentially all paleontologists. And the fact that you can say, like, well, what about what is it, Matt McLean?
Matt.
Like, yeah, okay, great. So you found one. And when
Yeah.
was the last
I've
time
never
Matt
even
McLean
heard of him
made an
before.
That's because he doesn't actually produce anything of real value to paleontology, because he's just a young Earth creationist who likes to point out the fact that sometimes he goes on digs funded by like Loma Linda University on private land, mostly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When I was at SVP, there were actually like quite a few like LDS people,
Really?
mainly because there's a ton of dinosaurs from Utah. So that was I think that's probably the most Mormons I've ever seen in my life, was at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology annual meeting, because there was like a whole group of them there because they had come with a couple papers.
Oh,
But it's really cool to see.
Go hang out in Langley, Virginia. The FBI is just chock full of Mormons.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Why?
Because Mormons have a cultural sort of affinity for law enforcement.
Huh.
And sometimes law enforcement returns the favor, as we saw in the bricks and minifigs situation.
Interesting.
As we say, we're going to try not to belabor all this science. We're already getting close to our time. The anatomy papers and studies have shown, John Rubin's done some great work on this, published in the journal Science. The reptiles and birds, different respiratory systems. Birds have a flow-through air systems, where reptiles have a diaphragm pump system.
That
That's
is
what dinosaurs
not
seem to.
a thing that is just universally true of reptiles, my friend. There are even lizards that have a flow-through airflow system, where in almost all of the sections of the circulatory or the respiratory system, the air only moves in one direction. In fact, I think iguanas are one of them. Like,
Really?
I think so. It's been a very long time since I read the paper where I was going through like different lizards that actually had unidirectional airflow throughout most of their circulatory or their respiratory systems. I don't know why I keep saying circulatory, but also, hey, we found avian style air sacs in an animal as far away from birds as Majungasaurus. Like,
I mean, also sauropods.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, the system that birds have is probably not exactly replicated in most non-avian or dinosaurs as a group, but like, there's clearly a lot of similarities. And is he going to pretend that we still have evidence for hepatic pistons in dinosaurs, which we actually don't?
I mean, like, I don't think we have evidence of flow-through lungs in ornithischians, which I think is still one of the key features that supports the old Saurischian versus Ornithischian split.
Yeah.
But we have them in we have flow-through lungs in just about every theropod lineage, and sauropods in general.
Well, I think ornithischians, they would probably have flow-through lungs, but they wouldn't have like the diverticulae, like the outpocketings, because crocodilians have unidirectional respiration as well. They have the same like system. So that's at least.
I just know we don't have evidence for at least as complex of a system as we have Saurischians.
Yeah, but it probably should say something that even crocodilians also have a unidirectional respiratory system, and that they are also genetically closer to birds than they are to lizards, and that the fossil evidence also puts them as closer to dinosaurs than they are to, say, lizards or turtles. Although turtles are closer to dinosaurs than they are to lizards, so like whatever.
That's more bizarre to me than crocodiles being closer to birds. Like the fact that turtles are closer to birds than they are to lizards that's like one thing that I
But they both have beaks.
Yeah, exactly.
They do.
The one thing that's obviously similar about them is convergent.
I know. That's why I said it.
It pisses me off.
I mean, I forget, are turtles sauropterigids, or are they just closely related to?
So
These
Sauropterigians are in Pantestudinines, which is a group that includes turtles and Sauropterigians. And there were some
Okay.
shelled Sauropterigians in the Triassic that did not make it into the Jurassic, but that also evolved the shell convergently.
Like a Placidus, right?
Yeah. And Henotus as well.
Mhm.
I think.
Oh.
Yeah. I saw a really beautiful Henotus
Yeah,
shell.
I know about Henotus.
Yeah.
I always forget it's not a turtle, but it is turtle though.
Well,
Yeah.
it's in the
it must
all
be
turtle
turtle.
group.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a stem turtle. We can say it's a stem turtle.
Also, I think this skeleton here, this is Shipionyx, right?
I don't know.
I
It
think
might say
looking at the
torso.
Saw dinosaur. No, it doesn't say. He gave us a citation, which is nice. Creationists are usually low.
Yeah, that is
citations.
Shipionyx.
Yeah, I've been having fun looking up his citations. I mean, of course, they never say what he says they say, but it's been some interesting publications. Do we want to dive into this one, or do we want to continue?
I want to see what he's trying to say with this because I want to know if he just says like, "Oh, dinosaurs had hepatic pistons," because I think he might.
Okay. Also, keep in mind it is from 1999.
Oh,
Just
Great.
Just for the record, almost 30 years old, and I'm sorry for the psychic damage, Dapper.
I forgive you.
To have. No, they don't have a four-chambered heart. That was based off of a concretion in one dinosaur that turned out to not be a heart. They thought it was at first, but it's not. Just
Okay, hold
so
on.
that's
hold on.
never been discovered.
Yep.
Yeah, never been discovered. It's not the same as didn't have, right? Those are different things. And the extant archosaurs all have four-chambered hearts, and they're like the other non-group bird group are far more distant related to birds than any theropod is. So, like, the reasonable inference is that dinosaurs probably had four-chambered hearts. We just don't happen to have an example of that. So you can't say they didn't. What you can say is that what we've previously thought was positive evidence of a four-chambered heart turned out not to be that. And that's a different statement, right?
Also, this is a different paper than the one from before, but the same author.
Oh, maybe he just really likes John A. Rubin.
Pulmonary anatomy.
Cardiopulmonary anatomy, theropod dinosaurs. Okay.
Let's see here. Available on the Wiley Online Library. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Okay. Boop.
Although crocodilian lung and cardiovascular organs are markedly less specialized than the avian heart and lung
Jesus.
system.
Sorry, my
living
display is
archosaurs-
freaking the hell out.
It just changed Mundo for me, but it wasn't freaking out for me. Let's see. Where was I? The lung air sac system, all living archosaurs possess four-chambered hearts and heterogeneously vascularized valvular lungs. In birds, normal lung function requires extensive dorsally situated non-vascularized abdominal air sacs ventilated by an expansive sternum and especially hinged costal ribs. The thin-walled and voluminous abdominal air sacs are supported laterally and caudally to prevent inward paradoxical collapse during generation.
I'll zoom in a little bit for you.
In comparison, theropod dinosaurs probably lack similarly enlarged abdominal air sacs. Yeah, probably. And skeletal muscular modifications consistent with their ventilation. In the absence of enlarged functional abdominal air sacs, theropods were unlikely to have possessed a specialized bird-like air sac lung. I mean, probably less specialized, but we know that some of them actually did have air sacs that were the same essential air sacs. The likely absence of the bird-like pulmonary function in theropods is inconsistent with suggestions of cardiovascular anatomy more sophisticated than that of modern crocodilians. I don't know when we discovered that other theropods had the air sacs, but it seems like it must have been after 2009. That doesn't sound right.
Let's see. I know it's on Majungasaurus.
It was in 2012 that was published.
Well, there we go.
And then there was another paper apparently that came out this year.
Oh wow.
The evolution of air sac system in theropod dinosaurs, evidence from the Upper Cretaceous of Madagascar. Recent evidence suggests the invasive air sac system evolved 3 times in avian-metatarsalians. Ah, that's interesting.
But it also means that this abstract is out of date because it is no longer the case that we can reasonably say that theropods did not have these air sac systems. We now know for certain that they did. At least some of them.
Like, this is just going off of gross anatomy, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. So while I will say that this does not seem like a Trojan source in that I don't think this source directly contradicts him, it is out of date and now known to be incorrect.
Rubin's also not the primary author, which is weird that he
it's quick.
changed that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, if you ever watch this, normally when you cite a paper, you cite the first named author, and then you can say et al. Although normally that's for papers with more than 2 authors, right? Like 2 authors, just put them both in there. But yeah. Also, that reminded me of the time that Raw Matt once cited Jeanson et al. Some year, and when I looked up what publications Jeanson had, the only publication he had that year was his book, Replacing Darwin, on which he is the sole author. Which means that Raw Matt thinks that et al. Is just a thing you put after a name in citations to make it seem all fancy and stuff. He doesn't actually know what et al. Means.
Drip, have you ever encountered the wonder that is Raw Matt?
No, I've never heard of this person.
Oh.
This is a man who once said that one of the ways that you can tell that humans aren't apes is that apes have 2 bones in their lower arm to give them greater flexibility. And humans apparently have 1 bone in their lower arm, which gives them less flexibility.
Well, I have a carpometacarpus. I don't know about you.
Right.
All of my arm bones are fused together. I'm using my computer with 2 big clubs.
He also once said that he was not a big fan of the Eastern Orthodox Church because they didn't read the New Testament. Which I will tell you this: on an average Sunday, in the lectionary of the Eastern Orthodox Church, there are 2 readings per Sunday. Both of them are from the New Testament.
I was like, isn't the New Testament where the whole Jesus thing comes from?
Yes, but he thought that he was talking about Orthodox Judaism.
Yeah.
So yeah, he mixed up Eastern Orthodox Christianity with Orthodox Judaism. He's also said that the Bible was written, at least in part, in a language that he calls pre-Yiddish. He has also made the claim that various synapsid animals didn't have molars while showing pictures of their molars.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
He is an enigma of a person, and that I'm not sure how he survived this long.
Well, he did
in
at one
multiple
point.
ways.
He does claim to have been a breatharian.
Maybe that's where the brain damage comes from.
Well, it's that. It might also just be all the time he spent as a semi-pro MMA fighter and getting his head knocked around.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually pretty. So there's a couple things. One is, I am actually fairly certain that he has extensive brain damage, and that is an actual explanation for part of it. But I also will absolutely make fun of him anyway, because he's also on top of that a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So I don't care that a lot of that is brain trauma, because you were a piece of shit earlier than that when you were trying to get people to stop taking chemotherapy in favor of buying your herbal blends. Because that's another thing he does.
Which, as far as I know, he still sells stuff like that.
Yep. So, once
he's a supplement grifter.
Once you start telling people that your supplements will not only fix their cancer, which he does say, but also will stop them from aging and even make them immortal, I don't care if you're stupid because of brain damage. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, however, bit to interject here. I'm reading the new paper that just came out this year on pneumaticity. Guess what else now has a pretty neat little evolutionary gradient as you go from basal theropods to birds, which I'm now sending you.
Is it air sacs?
It is air sacs in the axial skeleton.
Oh my god. It's almost
I'll open this up. I'll show this.
It's almost like it's true.
Oh my.
Well,
Well,
there you go.
isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? I mean, the Nothronychus one is a little bit crushed up and hard to see, but in general, I think it's a pretty stark difference moving down the group.
You think Ryan Cox is going to read this paper and integrate this into his presentation?
No.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
if that happens, I can imagine him cropping out everything between Allosaurus and Rahanavus.
Oh,
like,
he
how clearly
would
different
do
these
that.
vertebrae are.
Or he would just put up the dates that all of them have been found in and be like, "Look, it's not in the correct order." Like, yeah, okay, that's not the point. But okay.
How are you proposing that Majungasaurus evolved into Allosaurus when Majungasaurus is from the Cretaceous?
It's like, yep, no one's suggesting that.
No one is. That's not what we're talking about.
And we have a very important question from the chat. Are turtles crabs? Have they undergone carcinization?
I hesitate to define anything as a crab until it tucks its tail underneath its body. I don't know if there's any turtles that do that. That's like my boundary for calling something like a pseudo crab or something that's converted with crabs, because that's like the real thing that they do is they like curl the back of their abdomen underneath them.
All right, in that case, no. Although I would say that in the sense of being a like generally sort of like dorsoventrally compressed, hard-shelled organism that spends a lot of time in the water, you could make an argument that they are a lot like the crabs of vertebrates.
They're crawfish.
Maybe
turtles are crawfish.
Partial carcinization.
Yeah, they're getting there.
Yeah. Anyway, what else we got?
Oh, just did play.
If you try to put the air sacs of birds into a theropod dinosaur, it will collapse those air sacs and it will suffocate. It can't work.
Well, then explain the fact that that's obviously not true, because we found the air sacs, buddy.
But also, if I cram a big person's lungs into a tiny person's lungs, they're not going to survive very well, and vice versa. Different animals are different. That doesn't mean they're not related.
Yeah.
Doesn't work at all. Some actual birds that are sometimes used as examples of the transition from
meet our birds.
I love the carnivorous one because that hip doesn't even have a rearward facing pubic bone. Like
that's a dinosaur hip.
That is like an extremely basal theropod hip overall compared to an avian hip. And he's been going on and on about the hips. It's like, my guy, look at that hip. That looks like every one of those hips that you said weren't a bird hip.
Oh, also, sorry, I read this. Microraptor has bird hands.
I mean, if Microraptor has bird hands, then I guess basically what? Every Humaniraptoran has bird hands, I guess?
Well, he's going by the Alan Fiducia idea that birds secretly have a completely different digital arrangement than dinosaurs, that they lose the first digit, and that dinosaurs lose the last two.
Man, wouldn't it be a shame if embryological studies on birds actually showed that birds and theropod dinosaurs actually have the same digits, and that digit priority has shifted in that lineage?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be a shame if that happened?
Yeah, and also birds are archosaurs, and if he's claiming that this is a bird, it would not fit with the Alan Fiducia idea of archosaur anatomy at all, because archosaurs are like basically developmentally blocked from developing claws on their fourth finger. So if birds did have a 2-3-4 digit formula, then quote unquote extinct, if you're categorizing Microraptor as an extinct bird, it wouldn't have an ungule on the fourth finger.
Wait a second. He says Microraptor has 2-3-4?
Yeah.
Yep.
I see.
You see 1, 2, 3 because that's what everyone sees.
Yes, because that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But wait. Sorry. Are these metacarpals here or are those phalanges?
Those are metacarpals.
No. Yeah,
the phalanges start one down from that.
Okay.
Yep. And it follows the normal archosaur phalanx number for the Manus, which is to say 2, 3, 4.
It's a little grainy here, but yeah, you can see that in Velociraptor too.
Yep. And also, bird hands in embryo also follow the pattern. And it turns out that, yeah, we've done the studies. At some point, in the lineage that leads to birds. There was a shift in digit priority, so that the digit priority shifted from the third digit as the one that forms first to the second one, and that's why you have a lot of dinosaurs in theropods that lose digits 4 and 5 rather than 1 and 4 to get 3 fingers, which would be the typical thing that you would see in most lineages that lose 2 toes, like you see in mammals that lose 2 toes, like cows and horses and whatnot. Not cows, but like horses and some other artiodactyls that actually do lose more of their digits. Yeah, It turns out that we checked on these things, and it turns out, yes, it continues to be consistent with birds being dinosaurs the whole way through, all the way through the embryology of the digit development of birds and how it looks like the development of the digits of these dinosaurs. And also, I want to point out that it is hard for me to imagine skeletons that are more similar than these two, and yet one of them is apparently not a dinosaur at all and is in fact a bird, and the other one, which again is almost identical, is definitely a dinosaur and not a bird at all. And
one of these is a bird. Yeah. One of these is clearly a slow-moving, cold-blooded lizard-like animal that was completely naked, and the other one, coincidentally, is, for whatever reason, an active, flying, true bird with nothing to do with the other.
Now we just need Archaeopteryx in here to just complete the transition.
It's just so bonkers. Like, look at these skeletal elements. Point to me the difference. And also, one thing I would like to point out is that one of the things I hear creationists say a lot is that the specialized strap-like coracoid that birds have, that is in fact unique to modern birds, is not present in dinosaurs. Hey, look at this alleged bird. Its coracoid looks like just a generic theropod coracoid. Weird, isn't it?
They're the same picture.
Yeah, corporate wants you to find the differences. Oh wait. And also, I love how obviously dinosaurian both of those humeruses are. Like, come on, man! Look at that crest.
Dinosaur humeri. Yeah.
Like that is a picture perfect dinosaur humerus right there on that Microraptor.
Very nice. Very nice.
But no, these are unrelated organisms.
It will forever. In the future. I can't think of words. Sorry. I always find it kind of funny that I was starting YouTube during the days that Answers in Genesis switched from calling Velociraptor a dinosaur to a bird.
Yeah, that was weird.
And just covering them.
I actually called the Ark Encounter to see if they still had the scaly Deinonychus animatronic in their like Garden of Eden section. They do. When I called them, which was probably a year and a half ago or so. And yeah, I just called the Ark Encounter and I asked, hey, like I've seen this display in some like photographs and videos from your Ark Encounter, and I was interested in whether or not it's still there. And the customer service person told me that it was, and I have no reason to think that she was lying to me. So they're still inconsistent on that in their own Ark Park, as far as I know.
Well, they need to be given another tax break to update their museum. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, they couldn't just take that out. That wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear why Archaeopteryx is a bird.
Yeah.
Dinosaur to bird, Archaeopteryx, Microraptor, Caudipteryx. Those are pretty well preserved. Archaeopteryx, very well known, very famous. Originally, back Thomas Huxley in the time of Darwin tried to say there was that connection. Everybody laughed at him because they looked at it, they studied it. We have a research cast of the.
I will always love how quickly Huxley just saw the connection. Like, these are the same thing.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Also, we have perching foot on Archaeopteryx. That's incorrect. That we've known that that's incorrect for a very long time. The inverted hallux that is present in, I think it's the London specimen, was a taphonomic artifact. There's that. Bird hands, nope, it's 1, 2, 3. Sorry, birds have 1, 2, 3. That's going to be the case for also for Microraptor. It's 1, 2, 3. Let's see, bird brain and inner ear. I mean, I don't know what exactly you mean by that, because a bird brain is basically just a slightly modified brain from other theropods. No supraorbital fenestrae. I have actually not been able to find any evidence of this. I have checked numerous skulls. I've checked reconstructions. I have looked at as many pictures as I could find of both like expansions from to 3D of Archaeopteryx skulls as well as actual skulls in the ground. I cannot find any evidence that Archaeopteryx or Caudipteryx, for that matter, lacked supraorbital fenestra. Like, have you, either of you, know what he's talking about there? Because everything I can find either indicates that it's not clear from what I'm looking at, or that it does.
I think, and this is kind of a completely irrelevant point, because birds still have supratemporal fenestrae.
That's true. They do. We actually pointed that out last time I was here. We actually looked at some bird skulls and we're like, it's that. The thing that we're pointing the mouse at. That's the supraorbital fenestra. Partially closed / open acetabulum. I also looked into this because I did skim through this video like a month ago or something. Nope. I can't find any evidence that Archaeopteryx or Caudipteryx or Microraptor, which, by the way, again, had they essentially the same hip as that Velociraptor, in any way had anything that you could argue is not an open acetabulum. Of course, this man doesn't know what an open acetabulum is, because he will also argue with a straight face that modern birds have a closed acetabulum.
When there's a hole in it. He's very, I think he's actually, and this is, I just realized, that claim that birds have a partially open or a partially closed acetabulum comes from a relatively recent Alan Fiducia paper that came out in the last 5 years.
Oh, so they can stay up to date with the bullshit.
So he's clearly aware that Alan Fiducia is still getting published, even though he's.
Oh yeah, so he knows he was lying about that. Oh, good. That's great. That's fun. God. Okay. I ask it all the time. But if you're a creationist and you watch this, I would like for you to tell Doc, or come find me, why do I find creationists obviously lying every time I look into it, unless they're just people who are like, haven't actually looked into anything? Why is it every time I actually find a creationist who can do things like cite sources, or who has a modicum of scientific training, they make statements that I know they know are false? And I can show in many cases why I know that they know that they're false. Why does that keep happening?
You could literally go through the papers they cite and show how they're misrepresenting everything.
Yeah.
What's the deal there? Because that seems a little weird, man.
It's kind of a bad way to do science communication if you think about it.
A little bit.
It's kind of not good.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying just getting things wrong, right? I'm talking about things like this, right? Where a recent paper that this man has obviously heard of, because he's using the arguments found in it, contradicts an earlier claim of his that that paper couldn't be published because there's a conspiracy against it.
Yeah, and that paper straight up suggests that birds aren't dinosaurs. Like it's not like, oh, here's Alan Fiducia writing about bird hips for whatever reason. They say in the paper, we suggest because of this that birds aren't dinosaurs. So he's very aware that Alan Fiducia is still getting published for saying that kind of thing. Not in particularly good paleontology journals, mind you, but because they would not peer review that and accept it. But he's aware that he's still getting published and he's still putting stuff out there, which is...
He's being censored, though, by being given a platform. That's what being censored is.
His 3 highly successful books are censored.
I love it when people go
on censored as Alan Fiducia.
Right. I love when people go on like Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast that has ever existed, and be like, I'm being censored, actually. Like, my guy, you were on a bigger platform than most people will ever get a chance to be on. That is the exact opposite of being censored.
Wait, Fiducia was on Joe Rogan?
No, I'm just talking about people who complain about being censored and then go on gigantic platforms to complain about how censored they are.
Fiducia was on, I think, some major news network a while ago, though.
That seems likely. I don't think Joe Rogan would have him on, because Birds Aren't Dinosaurs isn't quite crazy enough for Joe Rogan. Although maybe if Alan Fiducia said that the actual true ancestry of birds came to me in a DMT fueled hallucination, then maybe Joe Rogan would have him on.
Maybe. Although, tiniest bit of credit to Joe Rogan here. Tiny. He has had an actual paleontologist on before.
Oh yeah, the dude from La Brea.
To talk about how like the dinosaurs aren't real crowd is stupid. But he has had an actual paleontologist on.
Yeah, but that was years ago. He has been slowly phasing out all of the like normal people types on his show.
I don't know.
And
Phasing
often-
out. I think maybe they just don't want to associate with him anymore.
Well, there is a lot of that, right? But
Yeah.
like, he not that long ago had Flint Dibble on to debate Graham Hancock, and it went extremely poorly for Graham Hancock. And so since then, Joe Rogan has just been shitting on Flint Dibble, including saying that he looked tired and weak while Flint Dibble was undergoing chemotherapy.
Yeah.
And talking about how that's like the opposite of what I think of when I think of a manly man. Flint Dibble, so weak. Yeah, man, he's on fucking chemotherapy, Joe. In other words, fuck Joe Rogan. Let's go
Fuck
back to
Joe
Ryan
Rogan.
Cox, who I dislike less than I dislike Joe Rogan.
Valid. And I pulled up this.
Oh, yes.
This
the-
paper.
The fairly
Um,
obvious.
So just showing, bird versus dinosaur brains. I think Ryan would say these are obviously dinosaur and these are obviously bird. When there's this here.
Right.
This is from Xanabazar, which is a troodontid, and Archaeopteryx. Which I don't know how that new paper stands, but is it possible Xanabazar is more closely related to Aria than Archaeopteryx is?
Uh,
I mean, I doubt it, but maybe.
it depends on where you slap Archaeopteryx.
Yeah.
Because Troodontids are very, very close to birds. I don't know if they're. I don't know exactly.
Wasn't there a paper this year that suggested that they were aviolans, or was that just
there's paper
Unimogans?
suggesting? Yeah, I think it was. I think it was just Unimogans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we can just say bird evolution is complicated right now.
Yeah.
At the very, very tail end of it, it's complicated right now.
As it is for many lineages.
Yeah. But the overall trend holds pretty strong.
All right, what does Ryan got for us here about all these things where he's mostly lying?
Pictured there. Yeah, it was neglected it was ignored forever. And then in the 70s, they looked at it again 100 years later, and they tried to make, oh, yeah, it's a transition. It's transitioning from dinosaur to bird. Well,
I don't think we've ever forgotten about Archaeopteryx.
Yeah, well, look, the idea that birds are dinosaurs did sort of not get a lot of attention for like many decades. And it is true that in like the 70s, it became much more like a thing to talk about and to study. So like there's some truth to what he's saying, but it's not to say that we forgot about Archaeopteryx or the similarities between birds and theropods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not an active area of a lot of research for many decades.
I mean, to be fair, for most of the 1900s, like paleontologists were more enamored with mammals than dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were like a side thing for most paleontologists.
There are a lot of cool mammals out there.
Oh, yeah.
There are, but I don't know. It's irritating to me personally, but I know I'm biased. Like, I think it was the holotype of some Centrosaurine, maybe Centrosaurus, that took decades to be described because it was buried with this tiny mammal under it. And scientists were studying the mammal so much they ignored the giant dinosaur.
That's
Hey man,
really
who cares
funny.
about Centrosaurus? Sounds boring. There's a little mouse thing.
There's a little mouse thing.
Which
many
definitely
studies
wasn't
have
actually
been
a
done
mouse.
since then that shows. In fact, there was
Sorry?
No, I was just saying, it just definitely wasn't actually a mouse.
Yeah.
one just published in 2025 about the Chicago Archaeopteryx, the Chicago specimen. It's a great read. It's a great read for a scientific paper. Because over and over and over again, it's like, well, this is just like a bird, and this is just like a bird. In fact, every single thing they describe about it is just like a bird, 100% bird, not a half bird, half dinosaur.
I mean,
Caudip-
unless we count, like, the positioning of the maxilla and premaxilla, unless we count like the actual structure of the skull, which does not have the same shape as a modern bird at all. Unless we talk about the fact that, in fact, it does not have perching feet, or the fact that it has separate wing fingers, all of which end in claws, or the long bony tail with no pygostyle, or the fact that it doesn't really have a keeled sternum, or the fact that it does not actually have a bird-like clavicle, or that it doesn't actually have the hinges in the ribs that allow for birds with their extremely specialized thoraxes to breathe that Archaeopteryx apparently didn't need.
Or the fact that it has dromaeosaurid style second toes.
Yeah. There's that. Or the fact that it also has a lack of fusion in most of its limb bones, so it does not have a carpometacarpus or a tarsometatarsus. And, unless you count all the things in which it's not like a bird, yeah, sure, it's like a bird.
That's got bird vibes, which is basically what bird means to these people.
What would we call it if we had an animal that had some derived traits of a modern group, but then also retained some of the basal traits of an earlier group that it is supposed to evolve from? Would we call that like a transitional species? Is that what we might call that?
I think that is a unique creation that God made in a transitional environment.
Oh, so
confuse atheists.
There was only a little bit of air, so it only kind of flew.
Yes.
It was made on the second and a half day.
Oh.
I don't
like
it was made at midnight on the 5th day.
It's one of those things where, like, if you ask a creationist what a transitional form would look like, right? They usually can come up with, like, well, it would have some traits from this earlier group and some traits from this group that we are supposing that it evolved into, right? And then it's like, okay, that is literally what you're describing when you take a look at either Archaeopteryx, Microraptor, or Caudipteryx. All of those animals have traits that are present as basally in Dinosauria that are lost in birds. And they all also have some derived traits that in the modern day are only present in birds, which is exactly what a transitional form would be. And you just saying, well, look at all these bird traits. Yeah, a transitional form would have to have bird traits or we couldn't identify it as transitional. That's the point. But if you ignore all the traits that are not bird-like and just pretend it's just like a bird, what you're not doing is disproving the bird-dinosaur connection. What you are doing is lying.
Yep.
It's just like those creationists that say like a human ancestor is either all human or all ape.
When in fact all humans are all ape.
I know it's on YouTube somewhere, but there was a debate someone had with Kent where they brought out 4 books, and all of these creationist books were referring to the same 2 specimens. I forget what species they were, but some kind of human ancestor. One of the books called them both human. One called one human, one ape. One called one ape, one human.
But the opposite side.
And then, but flipped. And then the 4th book called them both ape.
Yep, it's pretty common.
Whole spectrum.
Creationists cannot agree on which hominins count as pure humans, even though they like to say that it's obvious that all we have are apes and humans. Which, if it were obvious, you would be able to consistently assign the same group, the same animals to the same group on either side.
Because even if they can talk about anatomy, they can't talk about all the anatomy.
No,
or the anatomy in comparison to other things.
Or sometimes they'll even just say that certain specimens are actually not apes or humans, that they are actually a jumble of ape bones and human bones put together, sometimes in articulation, and often with actually having like matching faces for like joints, so that we know that these are part of the same animal because the joints fit together as like a puzzle piece, which you don't get unless you're the same individual. Yeah, we'll say that too.
Not just the joints, but I think the rocks that are holding the individual fossils fit like a puzzle piece.
Right. Yeah.
That was Sediba, right?
I don't remember exactly which ones they did it with, but like it is very obvious that like this is not a viable option.
Tricks. One of the arguments about it, well, if it's got longer arms, then poof, it's a bird. Okay, Caudipteryx is no doubt is a bird. It's 100%
almost said too much.
Holy Freudian slip! Oh my god.
Curious.
It doesn't have the holes in it. By the way, Archaeopteryx doesn't have those holes in the top of the head like a dinosaur.
I need a citation for this, my guy, because everything I can find indicates that both. First of all, so do birds. Birds have this. It's weird and modified, just like the fenestra in mammals is a weird version of the synapsid fenestra. But like everything I can find indicates that birds both have this, and that all of these dinosaurs also did. I cannot find a single source. I mean, that has it.
His source is that he made it the F up.
I mean, it's right there. Like, that's it. Now,
It's right
one
there.
thing is, okay, I don't know how this Archaeopteryx skull was produced. So maybe you could make the argument that this reconstruction has it and it's not as evident in the actual bone. I don't know that. But I still can't find a single indication of Archaeopteryx lacking a supratemporal fenestra. Like, I just cannot find it. And I would love to, because it would be interesting. But this one has it. And, like, I don't... Where are you getting this information, Ryan? Just tell me.
Let me see.
Dun, 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 dun. Does this Caudipteryx have a skull?
I know Caudipteryx does have a skull. I just don't know if
Just the one in the paper that I'm reading, because I found a Caudipteryx description, but I don't know if it's the one that has a skull.
Here. Caudipteryx brain. I'm trying to find a good paper that would have good pictures of the skull. Boop, 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 boop.
I'm finding a 3D reconstruction like this that definitely has a supraorbital fenestra. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm taking a look at like what reconstructions I can find, and I can't find anything that is indicating that it wouldn't have had one. In fact, so the skull itself is sort of like broken up in the actual fossil, but from what I can see, it looks like it has all the bones that fit together in a way where like there's not really an option for it not to have a supraorbital fenestra. In fact, a pretty prominent one. So yeah, every reconstruction I can see that has, especially the ones that have the actual like sketch of the bones as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put those back together and it has a supraorbital fenestra. So I don't know where Ryan is getting this idea that Caudipteryx lacked one, because it very obviously did not lack one. It has one. As again, do modern birds, I will point out.
Let's see. Here's the brain case of the holotype.
Yeah, the Caudipteryx skull is pretty beaten up.
Yeah.
I'd
also like to point out that, like most theropods and unlike most birds, Caudipteryx has the vast majority of its upper jaw dominated by the maxilla and not the premaxilla, which means that even though it did have a beak, it was a small beak that was only at the anterior like tip of the mouth, and it was not something that was extending all the way back like we see in modern birds, which are almost entirely premaxilla in their upper jaw.
Also note the completely unfused tarsals, no uncinate processes on the ribs. I mean, it's the same thing with all of these. It's just making up new ways to define a bird so you can call whatever you want a bird at your convenience.
Yeah, it's that thing where like too many animals are obviously bird-like, and they lack some of the features. So if we just pretend those features are either there or we just don't mention them, then we can call it a bird. Also, one thing is, did you ever read the paper about Archaeopteryx and its identification as a bird and how inappropriate that is by Gabriella Haynes in the Answers Research Journal?
No, actually, I read the one that she wrote about. Wait, she thinks Microraptor is a bird and Archaeopteryx isn't a bird?
No, she thinks they're both birds.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I haven't read the one about Archaeopteryx. I should give that a read.
It's also possible that I'm misremembering. It is actually about Microraptor, but I have a review of it on my channel. But I also have a review of the Creationist paper by, I think it was Matt McLean and Marcus Ross, who absolutely tore her a new one in the Answers Research Journal and were way harsher than I was. And they pointed out one of the same things I did, which was that this woman does not know what a pigostyle is, because she incorrectly identifies and swaps which animals have one.
Oh my god! I mean,
Yeah.
I try. I want to be like gentle with people and not be so mean, but like
They make
that
it
paper
so
was
easy.
written by someone who has clearly never described vertebrate anatomy before, and it makes sense given her background because she's an invertebrate paleontologist.
Right. Her thesis was about identifying beetles based on wing casings from the fossil record,
which is pretty awesome.
I had to read Portuguese to figure that out. Do you know how bad I am at Portuguese? I don't speak Portuguese.
You're better than me.
Well, that might be, but that's just because, like, if you give me a text in a Romance language, I can probably muddle through at least the gist of it.
Okay. So I didn't find something for Caudictor specifically, but here's Khan. I think I see a little.
That is a
Super
Yep.
Case closed, skull open.
Yeah.
All right. So what other
beautiful Khan was? It's so like, look at this. It looks like a freaking reconstruction.
Yeah, it's really well preserved.
God, beautiful.
All right, so
Sorry.
every indication is that Caudipteryx had one, and also its close relatives also had one. So that's just not true.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's all connected.
Oh yeah. Also, they did not have a reverse talix.
No, they did not.
Mm-hmm.
They did not.
It doesn't have the temporal fenestra, as I just said. It's got the short tail. It's hip,
but
it's
not
open,
as short
but
as
it's
any
thin.
actual modern bird, and it lacks a pygostyle, right?
Mhm.
So, like, if you want to say it has a shortened tail, then I guess yeah, sure. But at that point, does that mean that any dinosaur with a shortened tail we can now just call a bird? It's certainly not as short as we would expect. And also, I noticed that you didn't call out the shortened tail on Archaeopteryx or Microraptor because they have very long tails, especially Microraptor. I mean, look at that thing. It's like longer than the rest of the body. So is a short tail a characteristic that is diagnostic for birds or not, buddy? Because if it is, then guess what that means for Microraptor? And if it's not, then why are you bringing it up?
Or well, I don't know. He's just going to glance over the things that make it similar to Velociraptor.
Of course,
is what he's going to go with. Because we showed the skeletons. They're
virtually
identical, except in some select proportions that are accounted for by the fact that Microraptor is like an eighth the size of Velociraptor,
which is already a small animal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in mass, not overall length. It was about half the length, but eighth the mass.
Smaller than me.
Idea. It doesn't have the crest. Okay, doesn't have that shelf up here. It's completely smooth. So
you sure about that?
Are you sure about that?
Because that doesn't. All right. Well, let's see if I can find Sacrum.
Well, here's Khan.
I sure has that shelf.
Yeah.
All right. I am.
And I guess just to explain to the audience, so this is Khan. It is an Oviraptorosaur, so it's a relative of Caudipteryx over there. If Caudipteryx is a bird, then so is Khan. They are that closely related.
Also, I'm looking.
But they're not. Neither of them are birds.
I'm looking at a fairly high definition picture of the actual original Caudipteryx fossil with the skull. It does have that shelf. It's just right there.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's like it's visibly there.
Oh my god.
So, I don't know if he's lying about this because I don't know if he's actually seen the skeleton of Caudipteryx. Maybe he's just assuming that he's right because it has feathers, and he thinks that means a bird, and that birds don't have these features, right? But what I can tell you he has not done is actually looked at the fossil to see if what he's telling you is true, because what he's telling you isn't true.
I mean, if you can disprove him with a what was that 30-second Google search? He did not do any research. He just put these on the screen.
Yep.
Or he's lying. Neither of which is good when you're giving a public presentation.
The supraacetabular shelf is actually fairly prominent and pretty obvious in pictures of the Caudipteryx fossil. If you look for it, it's right there.
It's just like for comparison, whenever I do a public presentation, I fact check everything just to be 100% sure. Well, or at least I try to fact check everything. Sometimes stuff slips by because, that happens.
Everyone makes mistakes.
But every page of this presentation so far has had glaring issues that could be solved with a tiny Google search.
Oh my god. Okay, so that Caudipteryx is obviously reconstruction, right? Because we don't have any full 3D fossils of it that aren't like on the slab. But I just found what I think might actually be someone who took a 3D scan and slightly reposed that exact same reconstruction, because overall it has almost an identical pose. The only difference is that one of the legs is raised. Ooh. And that reconstruction, if it's the same reconstruction, also has a very obvious and very prominent supraacetabular shelf, like extremely prominent, which means that the animal, like the actual reconstruction in this picture, probably did too. If it's true that those are the same reconstructions, but they look like they might be.
I mean, I can't imagine why it wouldn't.
Yeah,
unless this reconstruction was done before Caudipteryx was classified as an Oviraptorosaur.
Because I mean, this is obviously a museum mount.
Yeah.
So a lot of museum mounts have been scanned if you know where to look.
So yeah, I can only find one reconstruction that does not have it, and it's an obviously crushed reconstruction. So like, it's retaining some of like the crushed nature of the actual bones.
Mm-hmm.
And even there, it still has the shelf. It's just less prominent. But if you look at the fossils just have the shelf. I don't know what he's talking about. Well, I do. He's lying, right? It seems hard to come to any other conclusion other than that he's just lying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there, you can be misinformed to a point, but I think we have passed that point multiple times.
Because clearly he's looked into these animals.
Sorry. Yeah. Like, who knows what a Caudipteryx is?
I mean, I do.
You're a bad sample size. Sorry.
Okay,
I'm not a bad sample size. I'm an outlier. There's a difference.
Tell us in the chat. Did you ever hear of Caudipteryx before we...
You and my audience who have an extreme amount of overlap are probably going to have heard of Caudipteryx because we've both talked about it before.
Okay. There's a chance. Though.
All right. Okay, fair enough.
Also, I know I'm probably saying the name wrong. I can't say Caudipteryx. It's like how I can't say Helicoptera.
Look, my rule of thumb is pronounce all of the letters in a way that is reasonable for that letter to be pronounced, and you're good. I'm not going to sit here and gatekeep Caudipteryx versus Caudipteryx or whatever. Like, whatever.
Do you support people saying Helicoptera then?
That's fine. As long as, like I said, as long as every letter gets some kind of representation, even if it's part of a digraph, and it's a reasonable one, it's fine by me.
Okay.
I'm the only person I know who says Tylosaurus.
So Tylosaurus?
Yeah.
See, I think that Tylosaurus is a reasonable pronunciation for that set of letters. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I just don't know where that came from. I feel like it just happened the first time I said it.
I don't know. Maybe it's just how my brain works, but seeing only one L makes me want to say the vowel in front, or sorry, the letter in front differently.
Yeah.
And we're treating Y as vowel here because it does that sometimes.
That's because
it makes me want to say tie rather than till.
That's because your intuitions are based on English orthography.
That makes sense.
Its arms are shorter. So it's got the reverse hallux, possible hallux, panaceous feathers.
It does not.
It does not. No.
Feathers, all that kind of stuff. It's a bird. Microraptor. You'll see this one show up. Oh, look, see, it's a dinosaur. It's like a raptor. It's got the name raptor. It's in that category of a Dromaeosauridae. They stuck it in there because its tail is long.
No, they stuck it in there because it has every single diagnostic feature of a dromaeosaurid. That's why they did that. Yep. That's why they did that. Because it is one. That's all it is.
Or at least enough to set it apart from main branch aves.
I mean, it's in its own. Well, it's got a subfamily named after it, right, within Dromaeosauridae. But like
Raptorinae,
yeah. But it has the features of a dromaeosaurid, right? Just like we didn't stick clouded leopards in the Felidae family because we didn't know where else to put it. No, it's in there for good reasons.
But what if it's a dog?
Then
David Peters, is that you?
I think this leopard needs a crest.
And its arms are long. Woohoo! Okay, that's what makes something a dinosaur. No, that's not what makes it a dinosaur.
Right.
A dinosaur has to be a reptile, cold-blooded,
which it is.
has to walk upright on those legs.
Which
when
it
you
does.
look at micro,
So far we had one thing that's just not true, and two things that are true of Microraptor. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Dinosaurs must be cold-blooded, though, because my children's book from the 60s says so.
Yeah, I forgot about the children's book from the 60s that said so. That's true.
Mhm.
Weird.
raptor, you will see, first of all, it has bird hands. The numbers of the digits, which they are, some great work by incredible bird experts have shown that.
He means Alan
Its
Fiducia.
acetabulum is
Yeah.
barely open. It's like partially, it's cupped.
No, it's
Okay, so
not.
it doesn't have it fully open.
That's just a lie. I've not been able to find anything to indicate that. Everything I can find says that Microraptor has a hip that is essentially identical to the Deinonychosaur hip that he was showing us earlier. I cannot find a single diagram that indicates that it had hips that had closed acetabula or even partially open. Or even looking like that coffee cup he likes to display with that has the bottom hold out to explain how birds don't have open acetabula, even though that coffee cup is in fact open after you pulled out the bottom of it.
I'm trying to find a picture of a Microraptor pelvis. I'm not finding anything that isn't from Answers in Genesis. Ironically
because
enough.
they're probably the only ones who would care enough to think that, like, oh, we got to prove that it doesn't have an open acetabulum.
Hey.
Its head is smooth.
This Answers in Genesis article shows a Microraptor hip, but it gives it an open acetabulum.
Fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing here too.
Yeah, Microraptor reconstructed as a bird.
Oh, hey, that looks like the Caudipteryx pelvis right there.
Sure does. Also, I want to look at the Archaeopteryx pelvis, which sure does have an open acetabulum, as does Microraptor, as does Cathiornis, as does Confuciusornis, as does Answer, a modern genus of extant goose.
Geese aren't real.
Well, that might be. That's a fair point.
But they don't give a honk that you think that.
That's true. I wish geese cared more about me.
Back at my back at the university that I graduated from, we had this huge pond that was just filled with geese and ducks and two swans. The geese understood how to cross the street better than the students. They were more polite. They would wait for buses and cars. They would wait their turn and follow the crosswalk more than the students.
That's crazy.
I don't know if we just had a lot of exceptionally smart geese or exceptionally dumb humans, but there was probably some overlap.
I now have to go in and flag manually some images as AI generated, because there are some definite AI generated Archaeopteryx images that I'm seeing, like this one that I'm looking at that has two left feet, has two sets of nostrils, and it doesn't have any actual external fingers, and it has an alula on its wings, because that's how Archaeopteryx looked.
Where are you seeing it?
Oh, I just did a DuckDuckGo image search, and I have it set to hide AI images. But the problem is that some of that is dependent on people actually flagging images as AI. So I am now going and flagging some of these as AI so that they stop showing up in image searches where people say no AI.
Doing good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, hey,
Great.
everybody, Archaeopteryx only had one set of nostrils.
Like most things.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if
Except
I could say most.
Dinosuchus, if you ask standing for... Actually, if you ask Ryan Cox, he thinks
Dinosuchus
Dinosuchus...
has two sets of nostrils?
Yes.
Oh,
What
I got to
in the
show him
world?
what for.
What in the world gave him that idea?
Well, because it has occlusal pits in the premaxilla where the lower teeth push into the premaxilla.
Right.
They give you, but they're not connected to anything. They're just holes that go into the skull.
Right.
They're
So
not-
they're not nares then.
On the front of Deinosuchus's premaxilla, there are some like open holes that apparently connect to the respiratory system, but according to the paper that described them, like wouldn't have been functional for breathing. But he interprets it as saying that they were able to breathe through the holes, and therefore they could breathe fire, like a bombardier beetle.
What?
I'm not kidding.
Where is that? You please. Okay, I do have to go now because it's getting a little bit on the
Yeah, I'm gonna have
later
to go
end
soon
here.
too, but
Fair.
I love this art by Tyler
Let me
Stone.
go for a few more minutes. I will send you. This channel this is on, Standing for Truth, turned it into a short. Or into a video. I'll send you the video. It is interesting.
Yeah.
oh no, Biologos is also doing AI Archaeopteryx art. Biologos, why would you do this to me?
Okay. I'm gonna. Yeah, I think we'll go for a couple more minutes and then probably call it good.
Sure.
If you have to drop out though, Drip, please feel free. Do you have anything upcoming on your channel you want to share?
I'm working on a video about Monster Hunter's cephalopods, and that's taking a while because I've never made a video about cephalopods. So I'm having to do a lot of research and check with people to make sure that I'm not misinforming anybody.
Good.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Yes. But no, octopuses are so cool. And they are very, very bioluminescent in a variety of very interesting ways that are surprisingly correlated to their habitat. So like the strategy they use to produce their luciferases, whether they're using like bacteria or whether they're producing them within their body, is very strongly correlated to their lifestyle, which makes sense because it affects like how they access the bacteria. But yeah, that's my main project. Anyway, thank you very much for having me, and I will head out. See y'all.
Yeah, take care, man.
It was nice.
Bye.
Nice meeting you. Bye.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we'll go for 5 or 6 more minutes, then call it wraps.
Okay.
If that's okay with you.
That's fine.
All right.
Doesn't have, from everything we tell, it doesn't have the extra holes in it at all. So it's warm-blooded. It's got feathers, got powered flight feathers as well. Maybe it used both its arms and its legs because it's on its legs as well. And maybe it was a super glider with powered flight. It has molting feathers on it. Actually, you can see in it just an incredible creature. And speaking of the hips, there's this neat little notch called the anti-trochanter. And if you see that notch, that is unique to birds. Birds have that notch in it.
Okay, so one thing that I had to point out is even if that's true, which as far as I know, it's actually not true. Even if it were true that this were a thing unique to birds, the claim is not that birds have no unique features, right? In fact, in order to identify birds as a group, they need to have unique features by which we can so identify them. But having a unique feature that other members of a larger group does not have does not make you not part of that larger group, right? Like humans have upright right walking in a way no other mammal does. That doesn't make humans not mammals. Whales have a fluke in a way no other mammals do, including sirenians. They have a differently constructed tail flappy thing. That does not make them not mammals. So if you say group A is not a part of group B because group A has unique characteristic C, that is a fallacious argument. It doesn't work that way. All groups of animals have unique traits that make them their own group, and that other groups that they belong, other groups that are part of large groups to which they belong do not have.
Otherwise,
It's
they'd be
true.
the same thing.
Right. So no matter what the case is, whether or not it is true that the anti-trochanter is unique to birds, it's not an argument. All that's an argument for is that birds are a natural group, which no one is disputing. I don't think anyone is here saying that actually birds are paraphyletic and that lizards should be counted as birds. No one's making that argument.
Well, he might.
I mean, maybe.
And as Fits of Rage points out, stegosaurs have thagomizers, therefore they aren't dinosaurs either.
Yeah, that's exactly the same argument, right?
A derived feature in one lineage just sets that lineage apart. It does not preclude it from other lineages, necessarily, on its own. You have to consider all of the features of an animal and its relatives in relation to other things. Phylogeny is something you can't boil down to one or two specific traits. It's a host of traits.
But what if you try really hard?
Well, then you get creationists, which are very try-hard.
Yeah.
Archaeopteryx has that notch. Caudipteryx does not, but it's got different features on it. Not every bird has this, but most of the time they do have it. And if you find that notch, that antitrochanter, you kind of see it there. Let me see if I can get my laser pointer to work here. There you go. See right there. You see that notch right there.
So okay, okay, so Caudipteryx does not have this, but it's fine because it has other features. But so it's still a bird? It was what he just said.
That seems like it's the argument, yeah. Which isn't an argument that makes sense.
No, it is not. Also, what are the units on this measurement thing?
It's probably listed in the actual description of that diagram, and he just didn't include that description. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But what is that, Microraptor? Probably centimeters.
Microraptor. Yeah, probably.
Like the big dashes are probably centimeters.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. That notch. It's right there. That is on Archaeopteryx. And right here, this is Microraptor. It's got the same notch as well. All of those things showing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it does.
That's not obvious to me. Let me maximize this window that we're in here.
Let's see, antitrochanter.
I am not convinced that that's an antitrochanter in Microraptor. Maybe it is.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm really not seeing it, to be honest with you.
Let's see. So I did find the source for this thing that he's looking at, which is the avian acetabulum small structure but rich with illumination and questions, which is by Alan Fiducia, by the way.
Oh boy.
So let's see. All right, so we're looking at. He's got a picture of a mallard duck pelvis. Let's see. I'm trying to find this actual diagram because apparently it's from this paper. My goodness, where is? Oh, here it is. Okay, Figure 8: pelvies of Mesozoic bird showing medial acetabular walls. Early Cretaceous Ornithurine gansus. That's A. B. Early Cretaceous Enantiornithine Quillinia. C. Pterygornis. Note the medial walls in these forms. Do you mean like the fact that there is some part of the acetabulum that goes slightly, like it's not a perfect like going straight through hole? Is that the thing that he's talking about? I guess it is. Yeah. Expansive medial walls, not what I would call it. Microraptor E, similar to Archaeopteryx, an early Cretaceous four-winged bird. It says four-wined bird, but I think it's winged. Bird-like glider, dromaeosaur. Note the descending bony walls, the acetabulum, Microraptor. So this does not seem to say that there is an antitrochanter there. Let me see. Okay.
I'm trying to look at a paper that talks about hip evolution in dinosaurs that I think touches on this.
The Berlin specimen as an antitrochanter. So this is kind of the Berlin specimen has it. Let's see. Is that associated at all with Microraptor? I don't even think Alan Fiducia is making the claim that Microraptor has an antitrochanter. Artists.
Hey, so interesting thing here. I can't access the full text of this paper, but it looks like they're talking about an anti-trochanter in Velociraptorinae. In Velociraptorines. Jesus, I can't talk. So in Deinonychus and Velociraptor, they're finding the same structure, which Ryan does not think are birds.
Right. And also, it does seem like if it's in there, that it probably would also be in Microraptorines, but like I can't actually find it. So if based on what I'm seeing here, we have better evidence for Velociraptor being a bird than Microraptor, according to Ryan. Although I'm still open to the fact that I'm just missing the anti-trochanter in Microraptor.
Go for anti-trochanter. Wait. If I'm reading this right, this might be an Allosaurus too. If I'm reading this right. This is just like a cursory glance because I know we want to leave soon.
Yeah. Also, I will say the anti-trochanter argument is actually a fairly recent one. I think the first time I encountered it, it was from Joel Tay of Creation Ministries International, if I remember correctly. And it was only like maybe a year ago that I first encountered creationists making this anti-trochanter argument. And I think it is because that Alan Fiducia is now talking about it. And this is a fairly recent paper from like 2023.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
So these are osteological correlates, so marks on the bone of the acetabular labrum and anti-trochanter. So I'm guessing that's what this HCC is.
Yeah, that's what that is.
So this is Cerosaurus. That's an early sauropodomorph. This is a Patasaurus excelsus. Dilophosaurus.
No, okay, Doc, what you're forgetting is that sauropods are actually birds too.
And Bambiraptor.
Jeez.
This just seems to be a dinosaur trait.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly what that means. Well, at least a Sauriskian
I'm
trait.
reading this right. I'm being cautious, but if I'm... Oh, wait, no. Osteological correlates of the antitrochanter cartilages. They right here.
Yeah, so at least a Sauriskian thing.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think that's a T-Rex pelvis. That's an Apatosaurus pelvis there.
So right not there. Only would this be an argument that does not follow if it were true, if like the actual premises were true. The premises aren't true.
So it's not true.
Yeah. So no matter which way you look at it, this is not a valid argument.
And if anyone wants to fact check me here, I will be fact checking myself after we're done. But this is the paper with all of the authors and the titles. You can pause, read it for your own if you want to. But I think it's saying that anti-trochanters are just a Saurischian thing.
That seems like it. You could make the argument that maybe it's convergent or something, but like what you can't make the argument for is that only birds have this structure.
Yeah. Or at least that it's it's not seen in any other dinosaurs. You can't make that claim. Anyway, I think we will call things to a close though. I will say thank you for joining us, Dapper. I know you're going to be streaming elsewhere today. Tell people where they can find you if they want to see more.
Over on my main channel, Dapper Dinosaur, I'm going to be streaming at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern with Dr. Kip Davis and Vishanti. We're going to be taking a look at a sermon that is claiming that baramins are a thing, which is just a sloppy Hebrew-Greek abomination of a word, which is not, by the way, how either of those languages work. But, so yeah, we're going to take a look at that. Then at I believe 4 Pacific, which is 7 Eastern, I'm going to be over on Debate Hub, which is a channel run by Chesh, and I'm going to be debating whether the Maquis from Star Trek were the good guys against Borg Emporia. Borg Emporia is, of course, taking the obviously incorrect position of no, they're not the good guys. I'm going to be taking the correct position that while I do not condone everything that every Maquis insurgent did, they are overall the good guys.
I have no opinion because I'm not familiar with either faction.
Well, you should watch, and then you will learn that, in fact, they are the good guys.
There's like 60 years of Star Trek to catch up on, though.
No, watch the debate.
Oh. Maybe. Maybe I'll tune in. I might tune in. We'll see. Today is my sister's birthday, so I'm going to be spending most of the rest of the day with her, though.
That's fair.
Unfortunately. And I will say for my channel, I do have some projects going on. Unfortunately, I was forced to reset my computer recently, so a lot of my stuff has been lost. So I got to start a lot of projects from scratch, unfortunately.
That
but
sucks,
we
man.
will. It sucks a lot. But we will be back here next Saturday with another Creation Science Theater, unless something horrible happens. We will be live next Saturday. Finishing this time.
Yay.
Next time will be the last time, even if I have to go for 5 hours.
If it's on a Saturday,
don't
I'm
have
probably
to
not going
join
to
me
be
for
around
that
for that.
long.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I might join you for some of it.
That'd be appreciated. But I will finish his presentation at the very least. I'll go through and like see if there are any Q&A questions that are interesting, and then it'll be done.
Yeah.
We can say goodbye to Ryan Cox, at least for now. But all right. Thank you to everyone who has watched the stream. Much appreciated. And we shall see you later. Adios.
Bye.